In a world obsessed with money and power, nobody captures our imagination quite like those who break all the rules to get it. These financial villains make us question our own moral compass as we secretly root for their audacious schemes. Starting our countdown with a villain whose business model is literally death sells 10. Lou Bloom, Nightcrawler. This gaunt-faced, wide-eyed entrepreneur starts with stealing scrap metal and graduates to something far more lucrative, filming human tragedy. Who needs a business degree when you can recite self-help mantras while manipulating crime scenes for better footage? What makes Lou so deliciously disturbing is that he's the dark side of hustle culture personified. While most aspiring entrepreneurs are hawking homemade candles on Etsy, Lou's out here moving bodies at accident scenes for better composition. His corporate speak during horrifically inappropriate moments. My success is a result of my personal work ethic would be hilarious if it weren't so chilling. Jake Gyllenhaal delivers this character with such unblinking intensity that you're left wondering if Lou even sleeps or just powers down like the human algorithm he is. He's capitalism without the pesky constraints of morality or basic human empathy, a walking LinkedIn profile from hell. We love to hate him because he represents our worst fears about ambition gone wrong. Yet there's something undeniably captivating about watching someone who has absolutely zero qualms about what it takes to get ahead. Just maybe don't take business advice from him unless your 5-year plan includes crime scene tampering. Speaking of unconventional career paths, let's meet the accountant who gives creative financing a whole new meaning. 9. Marty Byrde, Ozark. Imagine if your accountant moonlighted as a criminal mastermind. That's Marty Byrde, the human equivalent of a TurboTax program that somehow gained sentience and decided money laundering was its calling. Jason Bateman's perpetually stressed financial wizard gives us the midlife crisis we never knew we wanted to watch. What makes Marty so compelling is how utterly ordinary he seems. He's not throwing people off rooftops or engaging in high-speed chases. No, Marty's superpower is spreadsheets, and speaking in a monotone so controlled you'd never guess he's one bad day away from a complete nervous breakdown. He's what happens with the guy who does your taxes, gets in too deep with a Mexican drug cartel. Relatable content for us all. The beauty of Marty is that he's constantly solving impossible problems with nothing but financial acumen and the blank expression of someone who's dead inside. Need to launder $8 million in 3 months? Marty's got a PowerPoint presentation ready to go. His ability to remain calm while explaining complex financial schemes to murderous criminals is a skill we should all aspire to in our next performance review. We can't help but root for him because he's just trying to keep his family alive by committing enough financial crimes to make Bernie Madoff look like an amateur. It's wholesome, really. Next, 8. J.R. Ewing, Dallas. Before there was must-see TV, there was must-see J.R. being an absolute monster TV. J.R. Ewing took the concept of sibling rivalry and elevated it to an art form that involved oil fields, corporate takeovers, and enough blackmail to fill a 10-gallon hat. He wasn't just burning bridges. He was selling the insurance on them first. With his signature Stetson and shark-like smile, JR was scheming while other TV characters were still learning to share their toys. His business philosophy was simple. If you can't buy it, steal it. If you can't steal it, destroy it, so nobody else can have it either. He treated the oil business like a chess game, where all the pieces were replaced with stacks of money and people's shattered dreams. What made JR so iconic wasn't just his villainy, it was how much fun he had doing it. While modern anti-heroes brood and moralize about their choices, JR would ruin someone's life before breakfast and still have time for a hearty chuckle. When he got shot, the entire world tuned in to find out who pulled the trigger, leading to the most famous cliffhanger in TV history. The real shock wasn't who shot him, it was that only one person did. Given his enemy list, it should have been a firing squad. Next, from family drama to corporate prophecy, here's the man who predicted our corporate-controlled future with frightening accuracy. 7. Arthur Jensen, Network. In a film full of unhinged characters screaming about being mad as hell, Arthur Jensen manages to be the most terrifying by simply speaking in a normal indoor voice. Robert Duvall's corporate overlord delivers the most bone-chilling TED Talk ever when he explains to Howard Beale that corporations, not nations, run the world, and resistance is not only futile, but mathematically impossible. Jensen genuinely believes he's enlightening Howard with the gospel truth, that money is the only reality, and human concerns are secondary to the almighty dollar. It's like having your grandfather sit you down for a heart-to-heart, except instead of life advice, he's explaining why your existence is irrelevant compared to quarterly earnings. What makes his villainous monologue so effective is that decades later, it doesn't sound like villainy anymore. It sounds like a CNBC interview or a shareholder meeting. Jensen was was preaching the gospel of globalization and corporate power long before those terms entered the mainstream lexicon. He makes evil sound so reasonable that you find yourself nodding along before remembering that he's essentially advocating for the end of human autonomy. Trading boardroom battles for actual battles, our next villain brings European sophistication to grand theft finance. 6. Hans Gruber, Die Hard. When it comes to corporate raiders, most wear expensive suits and wield hostile takeovers. Hans Gruber prefers automatic weapons and explosives, but he's still essentially conducting a very aggressive business transaction. Alan Rickman's impeccably dressed villain elevates what could have been a standard heist into a masterclass of sophisticated criminality. What makes Hans so delightful is his absolute disdain for everyone around him, including his own henchmen. He quotes classical literature while planning to blow up a building, speaks multiple languages fluently, and treats John McClane like an annoying fly at a picnic rather than a serious threat. His business model is elegant in its simplicity. Steal $640 million in bearer bonds, fake your death, and retire to a beach, proving that sometimes the best exit strategy doesn't involve an IPO. Hans represents the fantasy of the ultra-competent mastermind we all wish we could be. While we're struggling to organize a dinner party, he's orchestrating a synchronized takeover of a skyscraper with military precision. His plan would have worked perfectly if not for that pesky NYPD officer running around in his bare feet. Even in defeat, Hans falls with style. His surprised expression as he plummets from Nakatomi Plaza is the corporate equivalent of checking your portfolio after a market crash. Exceptional right to the end. Our next con artist proves sometimes all you need is confidence and a really good fake ID. 5. Frank Abagnale Jr. Catch me if you can. Some people spend years in medical school to become doctors. Others, like Frank Abagnale Jr., just buy a convincing costume and start saying things like, "Nurse, scalpel please," with enough confidence to get away with it. Leonardo DiCaprio's charming con artist teaches us that the secret to success isn't education. It's audacity and a closet full of really good uniforms. What makes Frank so endearing is that his crimes feel like elaborate performance art rather than felonies. He's not robbing banks at gunpoint. He's passing bad checks with a smile so winning that banking institutions practically beg him to defraud them. His criminal career is less about greed and more about proving he can pull off increasingly absurd deceptions. By the time he's impersonating a college professor, you're not even mad, you're just impressed. Frank represents the fantasy of skipping the boring parts of life and jumping straight to the rewards. No tedious medical residency for him, just a fake diploma, and suddenly he's making life or death decisions. No rigorous airline training, just a uniform, and suddenly he's flying around the world for free. He's living out the fake it till you make it philosophy, to such extremes that making it becomes irrelevant. Next on our list, 4. Patrick Bateman, American Psycho. Every workplace has that one coworker with perfectly combed hair who's a little too interested in business cards. Patrick Bateman takes that energy and adds a side hobby of murder, creating Wall Street's most fashion-forward serial killer. Christian Bale's designer-suited psychopath is what happens when Gordon Gekko's "greed is good" philosophy meets Norman Bates's approach to conflict resolution. What makes Bateman so fascinating is how he treats both mergers and murders with the same meticulous attention to detail. He can wax poetic about Huey Lewis and the news while wielding an axe, discuss skincare routines while planning dismemberment, and maintain perfect abs despite a diet that consists primarily of cocaine and expensive restaurants where no one actually eats. Bateman is the ultimate satire of 80s excess, where the pursuit of status symbols reaches such pathological levels that he's more disturbed by someone having a better business card than by the blood splattered across his luxury apartment. The genius of his character is that his colleagues are so self-absorbed they can't tell the difference between a ruthless killer and a ruthless investment banker. Because functionally, what's the difference? We're simultaneously horrified and hypnotized by him because he represents the logical endpoint of a culture that values appearance over substance and treats people as disposable assets. That and his skincare regimen seems really effective. Coming to our top 3, we introduce 3. Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street. If cocaine were a person, it would be Jordan Belfort. Leonardo DiCaprio's portrayal of the notorious stockbroker is like watching a human champagne bottle that's been violently shaken for 3 hours straight. Belfort took the American dream, injected it with steroids, covered it in dollar bills, and then threw it off a yacht while screaming incoherently. What makes Jordan so magnetically watchable is his unapologetic embrace of excess. While most criminals try to hide their misdeeds, Belfort broadcasts his like their achievements worth celebrating, which in the the twisted value system of Wall Street, they kind of are. He's not just breaking the law, he's having an absolute blast doing it, creating a workplace culture that's equal parts financial firm and Roman orgy. The true genius of Belfort's villainy is convincing average Americans to fund his outrageous lifestyle while believing they're investing in legitimate opportunities. He's essentially running a pyramid scheme where the only person guaranteed to reach the top is him. His sales technique, selling worthless penny stocks with the confidence of someone hawking Apple shares in 1980, is so effective it's almost admirable if it weren't for all those pesky laws he's breaking. Next, this villain turns corporate rating into a lifestyle brand. 2. Gordon Gekko, Wall Street. Gordon Gekko doesn't just believe that greed is good. He thinks it's excellent, fantastic, and probably deserving of its own holiday. Michael Douglas's iconic corporate raider delivered the ultimate villain speech that had the unintended consequence of inspiring thousands of college students to pursue careers in finance, which is like watching Darth Vader and deciding the Empire had some valid points about galactic governance. Gekko is so compelling. He's not just wealthy, he's a philosopher king of capitalism who can make hostile takeovers sound like religious experiences. His slicked back hair and suspenders became the uniform of financial ambition, and his brick-sized cell phone the accessory every power player needed. He doesn't just want money, he wants the game, the competition, the rush of destroying companies, while looking immaculate in custom suits. Gekko is terrifying, because his arguments make a certain kind of sense. When he explains that greed captures the essence of the evolutionary spirit and has marked the upward surge of mankind, you find yourself nodding along before remembering that he's basically advocating for financial Darwinism, where the rich get to feast on the carcasses of failed businesses and unemployed workers. We resonate with him because he articulates the cutthroat philosophy that many suspect powers Wall Street, but few would dare express so bluntly. And finally, the kingpin of our countdown. 1. Tony Montana, Scarface. In the Hall of Fame of financial criminals, Tony Montana stands alone, mainly because he's the only one who'd show up to the ceremony with a mountain of cocaine and an M16 assault rifle with a grenade launcher attachment. Al Pacino's legendary immigrant-turned-drug lord takes the concept of vertical integration to blood-soaked extremes, controlling every aspect of his business operation with an iron fist and questionable fashion choices. What makes Tony so unforgettable is his pure, unfiltered hunger. He doesn't want a piece of the American dream. He wants the whole thing, delivered to his mansion and covered in gold. His rise from dishwasher to drug kingpin is capitalism on steroids, if the steroids were laced with cocaine and rage issues. While other financial villains hide behind corporate jargon and legal loopholes, Tony expresses his business philosophy with refreshing clarity. First you get the money, then you get the power, then you get the women. Tony is fascinating because he represents the darkest version of immigrant ambition, the flip side of the success story, where determination meets opportunity meets moral bankruptcy. His palatial mansion with its infamous sunken bathtub and pet tiger is a monument to excess that makes Wolf of Wall Street's Belfort look positively restrained by comparison. We can't help but watch Tony because he's the American dream, an American nightmare rolled into one explosive package. He creates his own twisted version of success and defends it to his last blood-soaked breath, going out in a blaze of glory that makes corporate downfalls seem positively boring by comparison. That's it for today, guys. Smash that like button faster than Jordan Belfort burns cash. Subscribe, hit the bell, and share, because greed is good for my channel.